Hello, everybody. I'm Tim from Las Vegas.
And I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, and wow, the British. You're posh all of a sudden today, Sam.
I am. Look, I'll even use my pinky.
Oh, there you go. Oh, and here we are again, having a chance to get together, talk, say what we've been up to, talk about some games, and have a really interesting topic to speak about too. Also, but anyway, Sam, how you been? The week been good?
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, man, things are good. Oh, the weather here in Vegas is phenomenal. Let me tell you, because
Really?
for a while it was like cold, right? You had to wear a hoodie or a jacket.
Yeah, that's phenomenal weather.
That's cold. But now I can walk out
Let
the
me
door
guess,
and
it dipped into the low 60s for you. Is that what happened?
yeah, exactly. But now I walk out in short. I open the door, and it's almost when I walk out of my house to outside. It's like the same. There's zero change, right? Yeah. Oh, it's so nice. It's beautiful here.
Right now, I think when we woke up this morning, looked at my watch, and it was 20 degrees outside. And we have a high of 33 today. But the only thing that's missing for me right now is snow. We need snow to make the cold worth it.
Yes.
That's what we need.
Yes.
And it's been tempting. It's been like, it's so close. Like at night, we were driving back home from church and last night, and you could see the snow that was just kind of coming down. And then by the time we got home, it's a 5-10 minute drive. By the time we got home, it had stopped already. I was like, man, come on.
Yeah. I will agree with you, though. I do agree that snow and cold should go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's almost like right now it's too cold to snow because there's no moisture in the air.
Right.
And it's like, dang it. All right. Well, it'll happen. Dadgummit. Have you ever heard of the word dadgummit? Have you ever heard that before?
Dadgummit. Yeah, didn't what was it? Yosemite Sam or somebody say that? Like there was some cartoon.
I think he was Dad Burn It. I was at my chiropractor the other day on Wednesday, and we have a little card that we have to scan whenever he comes in to see it, because it brings up your file on the computer screen. He can like double check it, and then he adds something to it after the adjustment. But anyway, I forgot to scan my card, so he came in and he says, "Oh yeah, hey, can I see that card?" And I was like, "Man, dadgummit, here you go," because I usually remember.
Uh-huh.
And he just kind of chuckled, and he was like, "Did you just say dadgummit?" And I was like, "Yes." He was like, "I haven't heard that in like decades." And I was like, "That was a regular word to use at my grandpa's house when I was growing up." And he was like, "Well, that makes sense." So that made him laugh that I said dadgummit.
Yeah.
He actually said, "Did I just get a dadgummit out of you?"
Yeah, and it is one of those terms, and it's funny, right? When you talk about like older, you haven't heard in a long time, and the same thing with kind of name changes, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's the same thing where maybe somebody like Ethel or Gertrude were say, right? You don't hear those names now, right? Kids aren't being named those names anymore. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, there's no Gertrude in K5 today. Yes, you got that right.
Yeah, have you had a chance to play any games lately?
Yes, I have actually. We're playing it's been mostly just me and my wife, and I've been playing some solo games because everybody's busy right now, and people are getting under the weather because it's been very cold here and that kind of stuff. So I've been playing a couple of games. The first one I'll talk about is one that I just played yesterday on the Flipside, and that is Spectacular.
I've been Spectacular. Okay.
Yeah, it's I played it solo twice yesterday, one on the stream and one off, and I still made a couple of bonehead mistakes. I'm pretty sure I got most of the rules correctly, but I just counted my score a little bit wrong, and I forgot to flip over one of the solo tokens on one of my turns, which kind of threw off what I did in the rest of the game. But I got all of the rules right as far as that's concerned, except for those two bonehead mistakes. But anyway, this is a really fun game. And again, that's just my initial impression of it because I've only played it twice solo mode. I want to play it more to really come away with it with a a tried and true review of it, and that's going to happen for the Dice Tower. But um, uh, initially, and the solo mode, it's got a pretty robust solo mode. In order to win the solo mode, you have to score 200 points and be able to score at least 2 out of the 3 mission tiles that you have. And I scored 2 out of the 3 of the mission tiles, but I only scored 183 points. So I didn't win, but it was only the second time, and I only missed it by about 17 points. And as I look back on the game, I was able to see, okay, if I had done something a little bit different over here and a little bit different over here, I would have been able to reach that 200 points. And the scoring table that they have for the solo mode goes all the way up to like 280 plus points. So I'm like, no way I'm going to be able to do that because I'm me. But Spectacular is a really cool game where you're going to be building out a park, kind of like a glorified petting zoo, if that makes any sense. But it's not really a petting zoo; it's more like a zoo because you're going to be putting all of these like exotic animals, and the lore of the game is actually you're protecting the endangered species from going out. So you're building these parks so that people can come and view all of these endangered species. That's the lore behind the game. Anyway, um, you're building these watchtowers so that you can go around and do that. But in order to build those towers, you're placing all of these hexagonal tiles on your player board. And some of them have little semicircles of a certain color. And when 3 of those come together of the same color, you can put one of your watchtowers there, and then they score other points. But you're also placing not just tiles, but you're also placing dice on those tiles. And so you're doing a couple of different things in order to score points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. You want to build high. First of all, you want to build those towers. And then once you build those towers, the 3 tiles that make up that tower or that are adjacent to that tower, you want high number pip dice on them because they're going to score you points at the end of the game. You're also wanting to, some of the tiles are breeding tiles, some of them are just regular animal tiles. And so it has that kind of, what's that game? That Zularetto. It has a kind of a Zularetto feel to it because you have some breeding tiles and some regular animal tiles. And at the end of the game, you're going to score points for your habitats. And there are 4 different habitats, and you're going to score. First of all, you're going to count in a contiguous region of habitats. You're going to count the pips on all of the dice, and you're going to come up with a number. So you add up all the pips, and let's say you have, I don't know, 15 pips on the dice that are in that habitat. And then you look at how many breeding tiles are in that habitat, and if those breeding tiles have dice on them. Doesn't matter what the pips are. So let's say if I had a habitat that had 15 pips on the dice, and then I had 2 breeding tiles that had dice on them, I would score that 15 times 2. So I'd get 30 points at the end of the game for that habitat. And then there's mission cards. And then there's also the for a number of kind of like a set collection, a number of animals that you have in your enclosure. You get a certain number of points for unique animals, and it's really neat. I probably did a horrible job of explaining, but on your turn, you're simply going to choose first of all a tile or a die.
You're doing a
In
review on
one,
this too, right? You said you're going to be
I
doing a
will
review.
be. I will be. Not it probably won't be for a couple more weeks because I got to get more plays in it. But
Right.
yes, I will be doing a review on it. But and I'll do a much better job of explaining the game later. But I really enjoy this game. It's initially I really
Hmm.
enjoy the solo mode. I want to see how the multiplayer mode goes. I think there's going to be some interaction with drafting the tiles and the dice from the personal supply. I mean, from the public supply. but you also have a personal supply as well, which I thought was a cool thing. And you get to take a
Nice.
tile or a die from the public and a tile or a die from your private supply every round. And so you do 8 turns, and that's one round, and then you do 7 turns on the second round, and whoever has the most points at the end of that wins. I'm really enjoying it so far, but that's Spectacular from Chili Fox Games.
Oh, nice, nice. Sounds good. Yeah, definitely want to get that to the table. I picked it up at Gen Con and still
Mhm.
haven't played it, but I
Yeah.
will hopefully soon. One of the ones that I got also, I think it was an Essen release. Got it sent back to me from Essen, and I think you've played this game, Loot.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Viking game, of course. So of course you played it and you like it, I'm sure. So yeah, I had a chance to play that. I sat down with my one of my game groups, and they introduced it. Didn't know I was playing it. Real easy, simple teach. And again, I know Sam and I talked about this. And when I say easy, simple, I'm talking gamers to gamers, right?
Yeah.
So when everybody's
Yeah.
listening, please
Right.
understand that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was one of those kind of things where, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole game and all that kind of stuff. You guys can look that up. But what you're doing is you're basically you have tiles you can place down on the board. They have to be adjacent to an existing tile you placed. You're trying to connect towers. You're trying to get X amount for castles. You're trying to do all this and that. Put axes down. Whoever you can claim an axe token. You've got
Mhm.
long ships coming. You can get goals, and you just have to. You have a main board, and then you have a oh no, it's your personal board. I'm sorry, where you're
Mhm.
drafting the hexagonal tiles, hexagonal, something like that. One of those words. Yeah. And you're putting them on your board to make connections and do those things. And it was very, very enjoyable. And
Mhm.
because it was a nice puzzle to put together,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
basically what you're doing, right?
Exactly what
You're
it
putting
is.
down puzzle pieces and you're trying to fit other pieces to connect to each one to accomplish
Yep.
like your goal tiles and stuff. So that to me was the most interesting point because I liked trying to figure out if you have like a goal tile in this one spot and then you have a goal tile in this other spot, how like say one axe between the two that both goals can use that axe. And this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So trying to build around those goal tiles and then the first 3 like cities or compounds, whatever this that you start with. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was very intriguing. Relatively short. I don't
Yep.
maybe in 45 minutes. I don't know. It was quick. It was enjoyable. The turns are fast.
Yeah.
A tiny, 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 tiny little chance for some AP because you want to min max sort of everything you place, right? Because you have sort of a limited amount of tiles to put down, and you want to make sure that so tiny bit of AP can set in, but it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I recommend anybody if you have a chance to play the game Loot.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I've done a live review of that on the flip side, and I was automatically interested in it. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
The way that you and again, that's gamer to gamer talk. Uh, the way you play the game is so simple.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more convoluted than it actually was, but that's a good thing. So yeah, that's a good pick. The second one that I've been that well, I haven't really been playing a lot of. I played it once. It was called the Hillock of Gardener, and this is a game that I think Tom picked up in Thailand on a recent trip. He went to, I think it was the a CMON Expo over in Thailand. I think that's what it was. Anyway, he picked it up. It was a game that was published in that language, but they also had an English rule book, and it just looked interesting. It can be a 2-player game, but I think it goes up to 2 to 4 players. Anyway, what you're doing is that on your turn you're able to play basically 3 cards. You can play 1 card into a market of cards, and it's a very much a gardening type farmer type game where there is a farmer's market, and the market cards are going to help determine the value of that produce at the end of the game. And the other 2 cards that you play on your turn are going to be cards that you're playing into your specific fields. So it has a little bit of that bonanza feel of where you're building up your own little bean fields, but you're not really doing that. You're building up these different produce fields, and it's really a little bit more of an interesting, tight mechanism because how you determine the market value can greatly determine how well you and or your opponents do on those certain things. So you have to keep an eye on what your opponents are putting into their fields as you help determine what the different markets are going to be valued at the end of the game. And it's a really small box. It's really just a little card game, but we enjoyed our first play of it, but looking forward to more of them just so that I can get a better grasp of that dynamic of building the market's value as you're also building your own um, personal tableau of your crops. I thought it was an interesting dynamic, but I want to see how it plays out. But I'm enjoying it so far.
Nice, nice, very good, very good. The second one or last one I'm going to talk about is another recent release. I believe it was an Essen release also, so I got to play another new one. And when it's my turn to play at this other game group I go to, I think in 2 weeks I'm going to play it again.
Oh,
It's my pick, and yeah, it is Civolution. Now,
okay.
many people have been saying that this is Stefan Feld's magnus opus, if that's the correct term I'm looking at, right? Uh,
Whoa.
it's it's a big game.
Mm.
It's got a lot. So so I don't know if you, Sam, have ever had this because this happens to me quite a bit, where I'll play a game and even by the time the game's over, I still am not sure what I was doing, and I still didn't have a full comprehension of the game because there are so many actions. Somebody said 22. There might even be more than that you can do on your turn,
Wow.
because you have, yeah, there's just a lot to explain, so I'm not going to get into it. Um,
Sure.
However, a couple of things I will say about the game. It's definitely something I want to play again. I want to get into
Mhm.
because when I got home, I was thinking about it before I went to sleep. The next day, I was thinking about it. Oh, I could have done this. Oh, now I understand that. Oh, I should have done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was one of those games where I kept thinking about it. But even though as I was playing it, people would ask me, "Hey, Tim, were you enjoying it?" I'm like, I still don't know what I'm doing. Like, I really don't understand it. Right? I
Right.
don't get exactly what's going on. But
Yeah.
then and so it's very, like, one of the main things about it is your actions. You get to upgrade twice, right? So you start with a basic action on your board, you put the two dice together, and one of the actions is upgrading. So if you upgrade the dice, you take that tile, you flip it over, and now it's upgraded to a second level. Later in the
Uh-huh.
game, you can upgrade it again, take that tile off the board, then what's shown underneath is the third level of that action.
Oh, that's
You see what
cool.
I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then you have a board and you're exploring, and you're oh, it's just there's so much. I'm gonna say, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Stefan Feld fans. So this is kind of like for Daniel. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be at Dice Tower West. He holds a Feldathon every year at Dice Tower West. He
Oh,
sets up all the Feld games and he teaches. He's a wonderful guy and he loves Stefan Feld. So I'd like to hear his thoughts on it. So I'm not quite sure what Stefan Feld fans are going to feel about the game. Whether they
Mhm.
do agree, like a lot of reviewers have said, that it is his like greatest piece yet, his most challenging game, his
Yeah.
biggest game, biggest. Um, but I'm really, really excited to play again, and I will. I think I can safely say this factually, kind of, for the game. Again, I guess for people of my intellect or whatever, that it's going to take you three, four, maybe even five times of playing the game before you can say, okay,
Wow.
I've got this game, let's go. Because there's
Wow.
just a lot to really put together, figure out the puzzle, the card play, get the rows, the first layer, the second layer. There's just
Mhm.
so much. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
JT has been jonesing to get this one played as well. I think he tried to. I think he wanted to try to play it on the cruise, but he decided not to because of its length and because of its depth. Um,
I,
so but it's definitely on his radar. He's definitely a Feld fan. He's also a Shem Phillips fan. Um, so that's games in the Garfield line. Those are his jam. He loves Garfield games, and Shem Phillips, SJ McDonald. Those are the people that he really kind of gravitates towards, and I know he likes Feld as well. So we're probably going to get this to the table at some point. I'm pretty sure he has a copy coming in. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I don't recall. I probably know, but right now I don't recall. But yeah, 16 to 22 different things that you can do or something like that. He's talked about it before, so
yeah,
we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
yeah. You brought up an interesting point about length, right? About game
Yeah,
length.
yeah.
Um, and the thing about it is, at what point? I mean, I guess we can talk about game length in general, but at what point does a game become too long,
Hmm.
or sometimes maybe even too short, where people feel there's not enough?
Yeah,
Um, so I guess I'll start going into it because speaking about Civolution,
yeah.
um, it is a long game. I would argue again. I've only played it once, so again, these are
Well,
just
quantify that. What? How long did it take?
okay. It was a learning game, a teaching game. So only one person had played it before. Uh,
Yeah,
three of us,
out of
we watched videos, read rules. It took us, I want to say 3.5 hours, maybe
all right.
maybe close to four.
Yep.
I think 3.5 hours. So that's not bad. But again, it being the first time and we sort of made a kind of a group agreement. Hey, listen, this is a learning game, so sometimes just do something and just do it and learn it and let's move on. Let's not
Yep.
think about winning or best combo. So with
Yep.
taking that out, I can see how the game could stretch out even more
Yeah.
because you really need to think. So I enjoyed the 3.5 hours. I thought it was still good, but I think it could go longer. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy those long games. How about you,
Sure.
Sam? Where are you on those?
Yeah. Well, no. The well, I mean, length is not usually a factor that I talk about or think about when I'm determining how much I enjoyed the game. Now, it can weigh on if I did not enjoy the game. But again, that is a secondary. Um, uh, it's a secondary thing for me, not the primary thing. And I'm not saying that you were saying it was a primary thing for your enjoyment either. But um, I'm big on defining terms. So uh, and length or how long a game is, too long, not long enough, I think is a very subjective thing. Um,
I would agree on that.
because I've played many games that are 4 hours, 8, 12 hours, and I wouldn't say those were too long because I enjoyed the experience. And when I got away from the table, when I stood up from the table, I wasn't thinking, "Wow, I just lost 4 hours of my life." So it wasn't too long. When I play a game of TI4 and we spend 12 hours or 2 6-hour sessions, with lunch in the middle, and I don't think I've now wasted 12 hours. I didn't think that was too long. So I think it's hard to define what is too long or too short.
Okay, no, I get
Often,
what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah,
No, that's a good point. Is to define what that means,
yeah.
right? And
So I think when you say something is too long, that means that you didn't enjoy something about the game. It wasn't necessarily that it was too long. You didn't enjoy something part of the game, and it made it feel too long for you. Same thing is true if something was too short. You enjoyed something about the game, and you felt like you wanted to enjoy it longer, so it ended before you wanted it to end because you were enjoying yourself. So I think it's hard to quantify um, those extremes in a valuable way, I guess.
right, no, I
Um,
understand what you're saying. I would think one of the sort of, I guess, barometers that I would throw into this discussion to sort of quantify it is I've noticed games there's some games there comes to a point where all of a sudden, if there's four people playing, then it's just like a sort of a group thing that happens where all of a sudden three people are not looking at the table, not focused on the game. They're all of a sudden up and we're talking about something other than the game. When the
yeah,
focus when the
yeah,
focus or interest of the game sort of gets lost, to me that sort of is an indicator that the game has become too long
yeah,
because it's not keeping the focus or attention of the entire group. And
sure,
what I mean by that, like you say, with TI4, you can play 2 6-hour sessions. Like one of my longest ones that I like to play is Dominant Species, right? And that's like 4 or 5 hours, depending on the player count. But the whole
yeah,
time you're just like, oh, you're like in it and focused, and
yeah.
you're there. So I think that could be a quantifier. Would you kind of agree, or do you see what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. One of the reasons why I've stayed engaged with something like TI4 is because, well, when I've played it, I haven't played it in a very long time, but when I play TI4, I'm so engaged in the game. I'm so engaged in everything that's going on and that kind of stuff that it just doesn't feel like it has been that long. Time passes, times my music teacher used to say time's fun when you're having flies. But it's time flies when you're having fun. So if you're having fun, time flies and it's not going to feel too long. You're going to get up and you're going to look at your watch, go, holy crap, that took that long. I no way that it feel that way. So if the game has broken that wall and you have lost interest, then yes, at that point you can say, I think this game is too long. Or there have been cases where there you get to a point and it might not be the game's fault. It might just be a person that grokked the rules better than everybody else. But where there's one person and everybody at the table is saying there's no way that any of us are going to be able to catch that guy. And now we have to sit through two more rounds of him making us look stupid, or her making us look stupid. That I think might be one of the factors that say that this game is too long.
Hmm.
But again, I don't think that would be a length issue. That might just be where one person is able to understand how to score points a little bit better than everybody else at the
Right.
table. As far as the too short thing, I feel that happens a lot more often than the too long thing happens. Because I generally, honestly, I generally will stay. If a game says that it's going to take 3 or 4 hours, unless it is a, unless it is um, a scheduled event, like I have agreed with four other people to play this specific game at this specific time for this amount of time. Unless it's something like that, I will generally say I'm probably not going to play
Right.
because more often than not, I don't host events where, like for example, if it's a if it's a Steamers board game night at Steamers West, that's our entire time, and I don't have, as the host, I don't have the ability to be in a corner at one table for the entire event. I have to be able to pop up, go say hi to people, greet people, and all of that kind of stuff. I don't have the ability to do that.
Right.
At a church game night, It's usually a 6 or 7 hour, sometimes a 5 to 6, 7 hour event. So I have a little bit more freedom, but really still not enough freedom to sit down at a three-player game for half of the event, to
Right.
be at one table with the three of the same people for half of the event. I need to be a little bit more mobile than that. So that's another factor that I'd like to talk about. What are the different instances in which game length is maybe more of a consideration to what game you're going to play?
Okay. Well, so I'll talk about sort of two different extremes, and I guess they're sort of game dependent. Like for example, like have you played Life of the Amazonias?
Yes, on the
Okay.
cruise.
Okay, it's like Cascadia on steroids. People say that or whatever. It's a little bit more, kind of.
Yeah.
To me, it's a long game, right?
Mhm,
I
mhm.
enjoy it. It's long, but I'm okay with it because I really feel that when the game is over, I feel that all people are sort of completely satiated, right? They're satisfied. They're like, you know what?
Yep.
I was able to do literally kind of everything I wanted to do. So I
Yep.
think that game is designed in that case where it's like, yes, it's long, but for a purpose. Like everybody gets to sort of complete their jungle, their habitat, and it's a
Right.
perfect length yet. Another game
Right.
with animals, Ark Nova. I think people who know it and play it go into it saying this is a long game, right?
Mhm.
Even if you know the game, I still think the length of Arc Nova is, to me personally, a tad bit too long because I'm not sort
Mm.
of in love with the game, right? I like the game, I
Sure.
think it's good, but
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a long game. And if I sit down, I've accepted that. Hey, it's going to be long. On the
Yeah.
other extreme, a game like Ceres, I don't know if you've played it, CERES. I love that game, it's fantastic. It's got 3 rounds. I've heard people say that they feel the game is too short. They feel they
Huh.
didn't get to do enough in the game.
Yeah.
They felt it could have used one more round. I
Sure. Yeah.
disagree. I think it's perfect. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about.
No,
Um,
it is. It
okay,
absolutely is. Usually, and I think player satisfaction really plays into it. Largely, my experience has been if you feel satisfied, the game was neither too short nor too long, no matter how long it took.
no, that exactly, yeah, yeah,
But if you were not satisfied, if you felt like, man, I really wanted to do more, then it was too short. Or if you felt like, wow, I could literally walk away and never come back to this game and I'd be good. That's too long. Um, you know, and I was done. I was satisfied 3 rounds ago, and we've got 5 more rounds to go.
right, right.
That's just too long. So I think it's really more of a it's a hard thing to quantify. But for me, I think my sweet spot in games, like for example, Life of Amazonia is what, 2 hours? I think.
Again, it depends, right? It's a puzzle game, so there could be a little bit of AP setting in, but I would say at
Sure,
least. I would agree, at
sure.
least.
I would say it's right around 2 to 2.5 hours. That's what I would think it is. Whereas Arc Nova, I think, is more of the 3 to 3.5 hours. So I think there's about an hour difference between the two, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe I'm not, but so for me, a sweet spot game for me in most of the situations that I find myself in, 2 hours is the max, and 1 hour is the sweet spot. 60 to 90 minutes is a sweet spot for me, and 2 hours is a maximum as far as the kinds of events that I'm usually hosting, the kinds of situations in which I find myself playing games, live streams. The really long live streams are the ones that usually don't get watched that much. And those
Right.
are like the 3 to 3.5 hour streams. They're very engaging as a player, they're very engaging games, but generally speaking, I think game streams that go over 2 hours are probably less watched, barring the marathon streams that everybody likes to flock to. But more often than not, I'm more interested in games that take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Anything over than that, or rather more than that, it has to be almost planned ahead of time, or it has to be something to where I'm inviting people over to my house to play, or I'm going over to somebody
Right,
else's
right,
house
right,
to
right.
play. They usually won't get played by me. Now, I've had other people come to the game events that I'm hosting, and 4 of them will sit at a table right over there, and they will play that game for 4 hours, and they'll get up and they'll leave. That's fine. You know,
Right.
they got out of that event what they wanted to get out of it. So it's fine. But for me personally, 1 to 2 hours is usually my sweet spot for games.
Yeah, I think you brought up a point before. I think the main factor, again, in sort of uh, what do I want to say, putting a definition on this or putting a boundary or a label on this, I think it really comes down to satisfaction, right?
Yes.
What because I'm sure there are studies out there that show the average person has X amount of attention span for whatever activity they're doing or something, right? So with board gaming, I don't know if the study has been done, but say it's an hour and 15 minutes, 75 minutes, right? That's like a Vegas show. That's like
Yeah.
the standard time for a Vegas show. I don't know what their um, metrics have gone into determining that, but if you go to Cirque du Soleil, David Copperfield, whatever, 75 minutes, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
whatever that time is, I'm sure there's an average, but I think it comes down to satisfaction, right? Because, for example,
Yeah.
I am happy with sitting down at 4 hours with dominant species if everybody knows the game and I'm satisfied and I'm enjoying it the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not be happy after probably 45 minutes if I'm playing with a first timer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I
You're
think
a game snob. I got you. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Got it.
So I think the satisfaction is a
You-
big point of how
No, I
much
get you.
time it takes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. JT has talked about there are certain games that he loves to play, but he hates teaching them because there's so much to teach.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. There are some games that I love to play, but I just do not like to teach them. Now, there are some games that I love to play and I love to teach them. And usually those are the ones that I find, like, for example, Blood Rage could easily, in a, well, I tell people not to play Blood Rage with 5 players.
Mm.
It really sweet spots at 4. 3 is not bad, but 4 is usually the sweet spot for Blood Rage, and that can take about 2.5 hours. But it's also a game that I love to play and I love to teach it. Period. End of discussion. Hard stop. Um, but there are other games out there, like for example, Twilight Imperium. I love playing that game. I don't want to be the teacher ever.
Right,
Like
right, right, right.
they're just I can't tell you how much I don't want to teach a game of TI4. Um, but I'll love playing it. Battlestar Galactica, same thing. I don't want to teach how to play that game because
Right,
there's
right,
so
right.
much. I'll screw something up. I just will. I know that. But I'll play it if somebody else is running it and somebody else knows the rules better than I do. I love playing the game, but I just don't like teaching it. And usually it's the longer games that are like that.
Mhm.
Um, they're hard to teach. So I was tongue in cheek calling you a game snob earlier. It's definitely a thing. No matter how congenial of a gamer you are, there are games out there that you will just enjoy more if you're playing a game with other people who already know how to play the game.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, and I like, for example, like at Dice Tower West coming up in our scheduling system, right? When you put a game, I like the fact that you can put what age you want to play with. You can put
Mm.
experience level, and you can put time. You can really set parameters because again, you when you want to spend X amount of time of your life, like we've talked about in past episodes, almost every single one, I'm sure, about the social
Mhm.
contract, right? You're taking X amount of time of your life to spend with people. You want to make sure that that's fulfilling for you,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So,
exactly. Yes.
yeah, so spending 2 hours, like you say, teaching, I don't really want to do that today. I'm not in the mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though I love Blood Rage or whatever, you know what? I don't want to do it today. It's not going to be
Yep.
satisfying for me. So it just has to be
Absolutely.
fully satisfying for you. And then the length of time is sort of just whatever, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the things, we're pulling in from all of the other things. That's one of the things about that social contract is that when you check off those little boxes of, age appropriateness or age is accepted and level of experience with the game and all of that kind of stuff. Those are the parameters of that contract, right? So you go in there and if you don't have the right level of experience with the game that the person who's running that event has, then don't sign up for it. If you're not the right age, then don't sign up for it. That's part of that social contract. But at the same time, I think on the other side of it, I would probably be one of those people that if it says there's no age restriction and I'll teach the game, doesn't matter how much experience with it, and you want to play it with other people, but the host hasn't put those restrictions on it, but you yourself, you want to play the game, realize that you're going into it in an open-ended situation where you need to be open playing with any age group. You need
Oh,
to be open
absolutely.
playing with, if it's going to be a teaching game and the game backwards and forwards, you need to go in there with patience and expecting for it to take a little bit longer than you're used to having it take and all of that kind of stuff. Because at conventions, I think you need to be a little bit more about, as we've talked about before, you need to be more about making that experience at the table good for everybody, not just for yourself.
No,
But
absolutely. And it's the little things that can add to the length of the game, right? For example,
yeah,
age appropriateness, right? People may say, "Oh, what does it matter?" "Oh, my son is great at playing games. He's probably better than
yeah,
you are." You know what?
mhm,
He probably is, all this kind of stuff. However, part of saying the length or making this, "Oh, this is going to be a long day, a long experience," when you're sitting down with this sort of group that you've sort of entered into, if I want to make a joke about like an 80s pop group, this 18-year-old isn't going to get it. So you understand where I'm going, Sam? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
part of the experience, which will either make it really long or really short, because you want that group dynamic sort of contributes to your enjoyment of the game. And it could make a 20-minute game if you just can't joke about things that are culturally comparable, like in age or whatever like that. It can just
yeah,
make it long and like just, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So
Yeah. Or it can just make it feel long. Because
make
really
it feel long. Right, right.
it
Make
would
it
only
feel
take 60 seconds to explain it to the kid, what the joke means. But then, you have the whole thing of if you have to explain your joke, it's not a good joke. But
right,
it
right, right.
was a good joke. You're just too young,
Exactly. Yeah. But it's not even necessarily a joke, right? It's like things like you said about Dad Gummit or whatever, whether it was Yosemite Sam or
Right.
something. Like I could say something to you. I could probably say like I don't know. I could say like something like, "Oh, that move was dynamite," right? And you see, you laugh because you get it. You know exactly that
Yeah,
reference. But if I'm playing with an 18-year-old kid, he'd be like, what's wrong with this old man? You know what I mean? And that's like, just things like that, right?
you would need
So
to get your medication, sir.
exactly right. So that could add to length, right? Just
Sure.
different dynamics could add, and again, it's like you said, it's not actually necessary a minute length time. It feels longer. It's a
Yeah.
feeling of
Yeah.
length time, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of
Totally
that,
get
so I just want to I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're
Oh
good,
yeah.
brother.
I was just gonna say, so I don't know when you're gonna put this up. I think it'll be before the con, correct?
It will not be. See, this is episode 9, so episode 8 went up on the 10th, so this will be on the 17th. Yes.
Oh, good. So it will have time for Dice Tower West. So both Sam and I will be there, and actually we are doing a panel. We'll talk about that later, so you can come and see that. We still haven't figured out what we're doing, but we are doing something.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. But
What you
still,
talking about, Willis?
what's that?
What you talking about, Willis?
Oh, there you go. What you talking about, Willis? Um, there is still badges available. You can go buy those. But please come out to Dice Tower West, hang with the Dice Tower crew, hang with
Yeah.
3,000, 3,500 other people. great gamers. We're a brand new venue. It's going to be fantastic. We're putting in a lot of work to get things, the best we can get, but we're really, really, really excited. And we'd love to have you there, see you there, hang out with you, play games with you. And I'll put that on Sam. He can play games with you. I'm kind of busy running the con, so I can't. I would like to play games with you. I don't know if I can.
Yes, he can. He can. He's the one in charge. He can delegate. Yes. He just doesn't want to.
That's true. That's true. But it's tough. It's really tough for me to get out and play a lot of games. I'm going to try to play a couple more. I think I played 1 or 2 last year. So I'll try to get out and play some more. But so again, this has been another great conversation. And again, there's just so much stuff to talk about. And Sam and I were talking about before, actually for about an hour before we did the podcast, about life things in general, and just about again, the general feeling of in society today about people, divisiveness and all that kind of stuff. And again, we do have to remember that when we get together at like a convention like Dice Tower West, that the first thing is we're all there for a general purpose, right? We all have a passion for gaming, and gaming. Yes, we have a common interest, and gaming and being together go hand in hand, right? I mean, you can be a solo gamer, you can do that yourself. However, you have to understand, right, by buying a badge, coming to Dice Tower West, that is the social contract. There we go again, that you're entering into. You're sharing your passion. So again, come into it, be there. Remember, it's a first world. Nothing should be bad, right? At a gaming convention. Come on, we're in Las Vegas at a board gaming convention. Anybody who is there, your life is good. Right? Like considering the first world problem situation, right?
Generally speaking.
Yes, you're in Vegas at a board gaming convention. You're able to take the time to spend the money to do that. Your life is good, right? And everybody is there to come and play games and have a good time. So let's just keep that in mind. Let's just have a great time with people. And not only there, just in general, in every day. Let's just do that, right? Have fun with people. Have a good time with everybody.
Yep. Be nice. Be kind. That's it.
Be nice, be kind, and that is it. And try to make your day and somebody else's day better each and every day.
Yes, sir.
And it'll be a good day. Yes, it will. So, folks, again, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Please, as we've always said before, like the video, subscribe, comment in below anything you'd like us to see or anything we know you've talked about in this video. Go and watch all the videos on Sam's channel, the Flipside. Go and watch the Dice Tower, all the videos and stuff they put up there. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of information. Anything to do with board gaming is going to be at the Dice Tower, right? They have news, they have the week in gaming, unboxing, just so much stuff, and the catalog. Tom, what did he say? Sam, is this right? 23 years he's been doing it?
Yeah, that's pretty close. That's pretty close because he started doing this in Korea. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so he's got a catalog.
I moved to Korea in 2002, and he started shortly after that. So
okay, yeah. So again, you got 23 years of a catalog of information, game reviews, anything stuff to do with gaming. So the Dice Tower is just a great repository. I don't know which word is or whatever. It's not going to say
definitely not a suppository.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not a suppository. For gaming. And see, again, right, Sam? We're at that age. I don't know. Like, yeah, see, I don't know.
I don't know how you use a suppository, but I know what it is.
Yeah.
The fan.
Oh man. But yeah, that's why it's so great talking with you, hanging out with you. And again, thank you folks for joining us. So we will see you next week with another video. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and sign off. I am Tim from Las Vegas.
I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest.
And we'll see you when, Sam, as you say?
On the flip side.
There we go. Bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.